What I've got for you today should be an amazing match of StarCraft 2. It's time for a best-of-9 series of top-level Terran versus Zerg. We're in the top left-hand corner in game number 1 on a map called King's Cove, playing with the red Zerg drones. We have none other than Dark. His opponent down in the bottom right, playing with the blue SCVs. We have the world champion of StarCraft 2, joined by the little polar bear on the main command center. We have Clem. Clem going up against Dark in a best-of-9 series. I mean, if you're a fan of Terran versus Zerg, which, I mean, it's by far the most popular matchup in the entire game, I would imagine that you're automatically also going to be a fan of this particular set of games. Now, I'm excited for it for a couple different reasons. First off, I mean, it's a best-of-9. We rarely see best-of-9s. Shout out to Enki for sending over these replays. He's been organizing best-of-9 show matches. And, well, he's been kind enough to send me the replays immediately. So, gracias to Enki for that. Secondly, though, and this is maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit sadder. I have heard this rumor now for the last 3, 4, maybe even 5 years or so. But according to Enki, this is the final series that Dark is playing before his mandatory military service will begin. Now, like I said, I have heard this rumor many times. Apparently, it is now actually happening? Question mark? Exclamation point? Question mark? I mean, I'm not entirely sure. So I remember at IEM Katowice in 2023. This is 2023, okay? It's been a little bit. I had an interview in person with Dark, and he mentioned at the time that he got a letter in the mail that day, the day of the tournament, that he had to go start his military service soon. And that, well, maybe that IEM Katowice event was the final tournament he would be able to play, because he was gonna, well, compete in that tournament, go back home, and he would probably have to start his military service. I don't really know what happened. I don't think anybody's ever had, like, a clear, decisive... Nobody really knows exactly what's gone down over there. But anyway, every Korean has to do their military service unless you have some sort of exemption. A lot of people were saying that maybe Dark had one of those. I know he relatively recently became a father, so maybe that allowed him to, like, delay it some more or something along those lines. Most of the Koreans actually like to do this in their, well, early 20s. I think Dark is probably, like, 29 at this point. Basically ancient. Anyway, it's going to be a triple Rex opener for Clem to start this series off. And it'll be up to Dark to try and defend. Now, one of the problems that Dark is running into is that he doesn't really seem to be enjoying the late game in this matchup so much. So he's playing a lot of aggressive mid-game timings. And because of it, he's been delaying his Zergling speed for a super long time. This is, again, a gasless triple hatch opener from the Zerg. And Clem is immediately hard countering it. I mean, this is as close to, like, a macro-focused hard counter you can go for. Now, it's by no means a game-winning position for Clem just yet, but this is going to be very difficult to hold. The one saving grace, though, for Dark is that this is a massive map. So generally, we don't really see openers like this on maps like... Ooh. Oh, no. Jeez, so close. All right, ultimately, that's okay for the Zerg. A little messy, but the queens still live. One Reaper goes down. We don't usually see it on a map like this because the map is so large and it takes those Reapers ages to get across. But, well, in a conventional game of StarCraft, at this point in the match, link speed would be done. I don't see link speed anywhere. Gotta start hunting queens now. Taking the queens off creep. Final transfusion from Brenda. Before ultimately going down. I mean, that is love. What is love? Transfusing Brenda. I mean, that's a dream of mine, to be honest. Anyways, I will tell you of that some other time. Yeah, Clem is just going to continue to dance. Honestly, not quite the perfect Terran micro. I know the Terran players in general set very high standards for themselves. But losing a Reaper to a slow Zergling is technically a little bit sloppy. Although, you know, this has still been quite efficient, I would say. He needs to get high ground vision, and that's the issue that he's running into. He needs to make sure that he can actually see what he's shooting at up on the high ground. Another queen goes down. Yeah, this is too much. I don't think Dark can really do a whole lot. I mean, Dark is still gasless. So Clem can continue this. In the meantime, obviously, he's building up his base at home, too. A little bit of casual multitasking. Triple CC. Now in the pipeline, and obviously when you go up to, well, this many Reapers, you spent the majority of your resources just going to be gas, right? Minerals are obviously something that will stack up. Since Reapers are 50 minerals, 50 gas each, you will naturally accumulate a lot more minerals, so you can spend it on, for example, factories. For example, a third command center. He's going Terran mech on the back of this. So we're doing triple Rex into Terran mech? Maybe, anyways. It's a little bit weird. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is. Maybe Clem just wants to bring a bunch of stuff out onto the map. Or maybe... Well, this is maybe not really possible, but maybe he made a mistake? I'm not exactly sure why we are... Oh, he just canceled one. Okay, yeah, it was a mistake. He didn't actually mean to go for a second factory there. Fair enough. Clem is human? Confirmed? Well, I like this from a strategic point of view a lot. The fact that Clem goes for this opener to start the series off is basically him saying, yo, Dark, don't you even consider doing a gasless opener against me, because I will simply destroy you. This is way too much value that the Terran player is getting. Obviously, Reapers fall off really fast, but yeah, maybe Dark should have made, I don't know, maybe should have made Spine Crawlers or a Gas Geyser as soon as he saw the Reapers coming in. He wasn't sure if it was Triple Rex until, well, the aggression was already well underway. And this has been a phenomenal start for the Terran player. Dark can certainly decide, by the way, to stick in this game for a bit longer, because the queen count right here is actually quite high. Brenda has already been reincarnated. You'll love to see it. The queens that poop together stay together. And as long as they hold hands, well, they should be able to push this away. I mean, once more, we're going to go into the main base. That does mean that a bunch of the queens have to split up. They did spread some creep, and the creep spread is going to make this sort of vision a whole lot easier. But Dark actually missing overlords outside of this line of sight is kind of annoying for him, because it, well, forces him to guess where the Reapers are going to be appearing from next. GG gets called. Excellent game by Clem. And because of that, I'm assuming that we will no longer see a gasless opener from Dark. Now, this is still Dark we're talking about. So I wouldn't be too surprised either if he actually just flips a coin and it apparently lands on triple gasless opener once more. But technically speaking, I don't think it's what you want to go for. Now, what are the odds that Clem is going to go and do the exact same build multiple times in a row? When it comes to mind games, I don't think there's anybody really better than Dark. Clem has always been, well, maybe a little bit too much in his own head when it comes to that sort of decision making. Obviously, though, Clem has, well, for example, won the World Championships and a whole lot of other tournaments to boot as well. But he's won a lot of events just because he's phenomenally good. But I think mind games have never been, like, his absolute strongest suit. Yeah, it's hard to really compete with Dark in that regard, though, because Dark is a bit of a madman and Clem a lot more calculated. So the norm is to go for a Gas Geyser here next. Yes, we will. So we're going to go for a Gas Geyser and then a spawning pool right over here. And that means that we get something that, well, Dark never made in the first game. In all of that dancing, we have ourselves a bit of gas income here very soon for the Zerg player in a red. Okay. Clem not going for the same build. The nice thing about the triple Rex opener is that it is quite committed, but generally you can transition away from it. The main problem, of course, is if you do end up going up against somebody who's got, like, I don't know, like a quick Zergling speed, even faster than the one that Dark is going for, you can get sort of hard countered. Not very common anymore to go for any sort of pool first shenanigans for Zerg, especially not very fast gas, but there are some difficulties, and obviously the main thing you lose is just time. The third barracks is quite expensive. In general, actually, the Reaper openers have lost popularity. Last year and the year before that, we saw a lot of double Rex openers at the start in the natural, and then sometimes a third barracks in the main base. These days, we don't really see the 2 to 5 Reaper builds very frequently anymore. We have once more gone back to, well, either a complete all-in like what we saw in the previous game, or the single Reaper opener. Let's see. What can it do? The dance will continue here, obviously, but this time around, it's just going to be a single Reaper. At link speed, should be on the horizon in a moment. Dark did, by the way, sneak out a third hatchery, so this is all very conventional. Okay, we're gonna go for an inject. Double inject, actually. That's pretty crazy. So the double inject is gonna allow Dark to get a lot of larvae going here early on. but he won't really be able to go for any sort of creep spread anytime soon. And it means that, honestly, the first tumor is actually a super important one. The first tumor that you put down is really going to dictate the amount of creep spread that you get out onto the map. The earlier you put it down, the easier it is to spread the entirety of the map. And obviously there's a lot of attacks from Terran that hit later on into the game. Say, for example, like a Marine siege tank-based push. If you get creep out here, or you get creep all the way over here, that makes a massive difference. Even though it's only like one tumor of like, you know, spreading time? Is that a word? I guess we can use that as a word. It makes all the difference. So that's already a nice little beginning here for Clem. The Reaper scaring the queens into a double inject. Obviously on the flip side you can get some more larvae. Now 2 Hellions have joined the fray. Maybe Clem was once more a little concerned that this was never going to be a link speed opener, but I think he's okay. Yeah, still some lost mining time though. 2 drones, maybe a third or a fourth. Yeah, trying to line them up. In the meantime, there are some more Hellions over in the natural too. Honestly, this is going way better for Clem than it ever was supposed to. So it takes 3 Hellions to one-shot a worker. He's dancing really well. This is by no means the fastest possible link speed, right? So now it's finally done. But Dark still took a bunch of damage. Now, it is 8 workers for 2 Hellions and a Reaper. 5 Zerglings also have gone down, so this is an excellent start for Clem. What Clem likes to do in this matchup is play that very momentum-based playstyle, so he likes to continuously attack and then multitask and do some more aggression. It's the polar opposite of the super passive, I'm gonna sit back and make 20 command center type of strats. That is something that Clem also employs every once in a while, but he, in my mind, at the very least, is a very multitask-focused player who will pile on the pressure and play the extremely high skill type of unit compositions instead. I'm not implying that playing, you know, the mass command center, I'm gonna sit back and make only ghosts and stuff type of builds. I'm not implying that those don't take a lot of skill either, but this is super duper hard. Now, there is in the meantime a Zergling counterattack on the other side of the map, and that may just be able to even the odds. Dark has decided that he's gonna use his queens for base defense, another Reaper or another Mule Rodder Lance. That's very ambitious. Another 250 or so minerals down the drain there. And this is actually way better for Dark than I thought it was ever going to be. Dude, Dark is such a madman. He's like, yo, there's a lot of aggression on my side of the map. Let me go ahead and send literally all of my Zerglings towards the other side. So ultimately, Dark doing Dark things. He ends up with 19 SCV kills, killed all of the Hellions, and, well, he's only lost, quote-unquote, only 13 drones. If you're not prepared as Terran against the Zergling run-by, it can deal so much damage. And it suddenly now shifts momentum back in favor of the Zerg. I think we can sort of equalize the amount of worker losses here, especially with the amount of mules that Terran can go for. But obviously, this is not a triple CC start. This has been a very committed 2-base opener here from Clem. So, momentum-wise, he wants to continue attacking. He wants to go for another move in just a little bit. He doesn't really have the alternative option of, well, just sitting back on triple CC and making a bunch of economy. So, even though his income levels are going to be fine, he's not going to be able to do those layers of Terran aggression that he's usually very fond of. Dark, because of all of this, decides to go Roaches with +1/+1, and then also Roach Speed. Generally considered to be a weaker play, but he recognizes now what the Terran is going for. And in his mind, even though this is not going to be stronger the longer that the game goes on, this is going to be phenomenal when it comes to holding 2-base aggression from Terran, assuming those upgrades are actually done in time. So Dark is banking on the fact that this game is not going to last that much longer. As a matter of fact, he's already making units of his own. Yeah, he doesn't even have that many workers. I think this is the correct time. Clem going across the map, bringing a siege tank to the party as well inside of a private plane. This is that creep spread I was talking about, though. It's not as far out as you would like it to be as the Zerg at this point in time. Roach is coming up. 1-1 is not going to be finished. Roach speed won't be done. Maybe Dark can buy enough time, though. I love this push here for Clem overall, making the best of a bad situation. Target firing down the Ravagers. Okay, another Ravager pops. Queens are starting to die as well. Dude, Clem, He's got like a 20-second timing window, and he hits it perfectly. There's a lot of variables. It's very difficult to make this decision, but he's still reading his opponent well. Should be microing the Metafix back. Losing them is a little bit unfortunate, but this is still dealing a tremendous amount of damage. That hatchery over here never started up. Dark is now going to be finishing up his upgrades, and Roach Speed is going to make closing the distance to that siege tank group a little bit easier. Still, though, so much damage is being dealt by this Terran army. Worker count at this point has been equalized. Keep in mind that, well, Clem still does not have a third CC. He can indeed go ahead and fly one of the main bases over if he wants to. Another Roach is going to slip away, and it will finally get the final kill. But that was a very narrow defense there by the Zerg. And I don't really know if it's good enough. I don't think so. This game has been flip-flopping back and forth. Trying his very best as Dark to just clean this up. I mean, he was hoping that he was going to be able to get the 1-1 done. If he could have finished up Roach Speed together with 1-1, that attack would have looked very different. Obviously, Clem can't really know exactly when those upgrades begin. He doesn't even really know until he gets across the map whether or not it's going to be a Roach defense or something else. But he wanted to hit before Baneling Speed, and he wanted to hit before Roach Speed, and he got the job done. Dark now investing into the +2 armor. Once more, by the way, we do have an attack going across the map. There should be a siege tank for defense. There is a siege tank for defense. Not currently sieged up, but should be easy enough. In the meantime, the Terran drop continues inside of the main base. Yeah, and so far Dark is getting what he was hoping for, right? He doesn't really want to play late game, so he gets to play early game repeatedly. I mean, this is still pretty much early game. We haven't really gone past the very initial types of units. Clem is absolutely destroying him. The Zergling run-by was a bit lucky too, right? I mean, obviously the Zergling run-by got a lot of damage done, but that was mostly because Clem was so busy microing on the other side of the map that he couldn't quite manage everything at home at the same time too. And he still came out of that okay. Yeah, Clem is actually outskilling him so far, which is never... That's never a situation you want to be in, you know? Basically, what you gotta do is the same thing as you're doing right now, but then better in every way. Okay, good luck. Also, you need to go ahead and do it right now. Good luck with that, dude. See how it goes for you. All of those mistakes you're making, consider not making those. And then, yeah, play perfect instead. All right. Roach is getting sniped. A Ravager here on the wrong side of this wall. It's the little things. And that really is a theme, though, in Clem's playstyle. He's very clean. Keep in mind, obviously, that this is Europe going up against Korea. So the games are most likely played on the North American server. That's usually how it goes in StarCraft 2. You basically want to go for a relatively equal amount of ping for both of the players. So I can imagine here Clem is probably microing with about 150 to like 200 ping or so. Maybe 150 to 180. Something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure what server they used here, but it is going to slow everything down a bunch. Generally, I think that's more forgiving for Zerg. Zerg's micro in fights is usually a bit more attack movie. Terran needs to be a bit more precise with their unit control. Specifically against Banelings. Maybe in these sorts of engagements it doesn't really matter that much, but I do think in general Clem is better when he's got less ping. And this is about the most ping he will ever experience in a top level game. He's just relentless. Siege tanks, slow pushed forward right now. Leapfrogging 1 or 2 at a time. Trying to unsiege the one in the back, move it forward. Stims over here at the front, macros in the meantime. +2/+2 coming up as well for the infantry units. Micros out of the corrosive biles. Very good. Very good. Yeah, Clem doesn't really have any weaknesses anymore. He's the perfect Terran package. GG. Next up, we find ourselves on ley lines. Now, I can't help but notice that we've got ourselves a very fast Gas Geyser together with a very fast Roach Warren. Dark apparently has decided that the way he wants to deal with this Terran player is by rushing Roaches. Let's see. Where do we take this game from here now? Clem? Oh, Clem. Oh, Clem. All right, perfect scout. He kept the SCV around for a little bit, recognized that his opponent wasn't doing the super quick third hatch opener, checked the main base, sees the roaches before they lay eggs, starts up a bunker over here inside of the main base too. Command center on the low ground will be long done. I think you can even make it into an orbital. Oh, we're even going to mine it. Yeah, you can make it into an orbital. The roaches aren't going to bother attacking it anyways. They shouldn't. Still going to be quite a dicey defense. Clem wants to build up a tech lab right now in the factory to go into Cyclone production. Cyclone production is phenomenal in this situation. And already, I kind of feel like, other than that Zergling run by in the previous game, Dark just hasn't really been able to find his footing. Like, he's kind of awkwardly shuffling around, trying his very best. It's like me on the dance floor. See how it goes. This bunker is going to shut everything down. And obviously bunkers can be salvaged too. Overlord is here to provide high ground vision. So that's the issue that we saw in the first game on King's Cove. So Zerg has that flying supply depot, right? Where they can use this to provide the high ground vision. The Reapers didn't have that luck. Cyclone is out. We should probably make another Cyclone. Yeah, apparently Clem is like, nah, we don't need that. I will just micro! He's actually gonna kill everything. Alright. Well, that was fun. Losing the Overlord actually also sucks. And this has completely taken the winds out of Dark's sails. What do you do now? Well, basically, you cross your fingers and hope you can get away with greed. Terran gets to do whatever they please here for the foreseeable future. There's really nothing Zerg can do to try and stop that sort of thing. Well, I say that. Dark is putting down a second gas geyser. Maybe he wants to continuously move out. And yeah, he's making some more roaches. I'm assuming these are going to be for base defense. Clem is going to try and see if maybe he can strike over at the third command center. The Zerg command center, that is. Another time. He is, in the meantime, though, building up his own. Liberator on the back of this. That Cyclone from the early game. Still being an absolute menace. A couple of men with guns show up as well. They've had a taste for blood. Reinforcing units show up too. I love the fact that he brought those in a plane. It made the roaches overextend off creep. Dude. If this is indeed Dark's final series, I really hope he can somehow get it together again, because this is not going well. Clem is making him look like he's your average run-of-the-mill ladder hero. Absolute monster. Absolute monster. You don't want to play mid-game? You don't want to play late game? Perfect. Zergling run by again. Hellions trying to guide them in the wrong direction. This is a lot of multitasking here for the Terran player, because he's got multiple squads of units that he needs to keep under his control. Looks like the Frenchman, though, is doing a good job in that regard. Actually even shuffled that Hellion back to safety as well. Forced the Lings in to switch their focus fire. I mean, this obviously hasn't been an easy early game, but a very solid outcome here for the Terran in the end. Jimmy and his friends will die, but as a sacrifice that Clem will be willing to make. Liberator here. Just trying to be annoying. There's a couple queens waiting on the edge of the creep. Historically, by the way, Clem has struggled quite a bit to... Dang, that lighting effect. A little cursed. Clem has struggled a little bit more against the likes of Dark than, in my mind, he does against Serral. Now, obviously, everybody struggles against Serral. But the craziness of the Korean... Not just the Zergs, but also the Protoss players, that generally seems to be one of his weaknesses. To a lesser extent, though, than, for example, MaxSpecs. I feel like MaxSpecs has that in a more, well, serious way, where the chaos of the Koreans can sometimes catch them off guard a bit. But this has been clinical precision so far. Now, Dark is going to try his hand at another attack. This is becoming extremely committed. He's now 16 workers behind, not including mules, to a Terran player. So this is now, for all intents and purposes, an all-in. He needs to deal critical amounts of damage with this attack, and he does have an awful lot of army. Siege tank production has begun, though. The first tank is already out. Liberator here is nice to have, even if it's just to force up a couple of those biles to go onto, well, not supply depots or, for example, siege tanks. Third command center still hanging out. Supply depot wall is going to go down. New depots are being built behind the mineral line. This may very well result in a temporary supply block, though, for Clem. SCV goes down. Command center should be repositioned towards the main base. Add-on here exposed. Looks like the reactor may very well burn down. Cyclones are trying to see if they can dance. Dark in the meantime, though. Hello, Clem. Clem. Oh, dude, that's too close. Oh, jeez. That would be embarrassing. No, he's gonna save it. You were concerned? Obviously, SCVs can repair from the ground to a flying unit. Nobody understands how that works, but... easy peasy. Well, that got a little dicey. Mostly because Clem was not anticipating additional Zerglings gnawing away at that command center. We're not even going to wait until the thing is back up to full HP. We're already flying it back to the low ground. Armory coming up. That probably means we're going to go straight into 2-2. This is Terran starting up 2-2 right around the time that Dark started up 1-1. Dark now going into a desperation Baneling Nest. But he is just not finding his groove at all. Okay. It's going to be Roach speed, Baneling speed. I mean, that's not started yet, but I'm assuming we'll see that in a moment. And then a whole lot of stuff. Basically, this is Zerg switching into full survival mode. Keep in mind that in the last few encounters that Clem has had with Serral, I mean, right now, I think I'm probably favoring Clem, like maybe like 65 to 35. Serral's been struggling a little bit more against, well, fellow immortal players, like, for example, Clem. Ay. Dude, Clem just seems to be on another level here. Stands his ground, perfect engagement. Baneling Nest what? Baneling Nest who? +1 melee, completely pointless here. It's not even done yet. 2-2 in the meantime, obviously well underway. Second factory coming up. We may even see a fourth command center. I mean, he doesn't need it. GG. Plaza Violeta Neon. That's what it says when I load up the map. At the very least, apparently, that's what the map is called in Spanish. Neon Violet Square. It is going to be the fourth map in this Best-of-9 series. Of course, in the Best-of-9, it is the first player who wins 5 maps who will be the victor. And so far, I am not liking Dark's chances very much whatsoever. It's not that he's playing poorly. He seems to be playing pretty effectively across the board. It's just that Clem is, yeah, Clem. And Clem is also, much like his Terran playstyle, he's very momentum-focused in tournaments and also in series. So usually when he starts winning, he doesn't stop winning. I feel like, and I don't really have the stats to back this up, but say, for example, there's a series where Clem loses the first map. I think he's much more likely to lose the second map as well. Whereas if he wins the first map, he generally keeps the ball going. Momentum is a real thing in a series of StarCraft, in a tournament especially. Ultimately, mindset changes everything too, right? So sometimes we see pro gamers going into a tournament and they don't truly believe in themselves. I feel like Clem, for the first couple years of his competition gameplay, right? He didn't really believe in himself all that much either, but these days, his mental strength in that regard is very, very solid, and he's got the results to back it up. Dark has decided that once more we're going to play Gasless. I find this ambitious, but he's going to be able to get away with it this time around. So by the way, this Best-of-9, it is the, like I said, the Enki show match. It's just a invitation. So you get invited to compete in this this show match series, and that's it. There's no tournament bracket or anything along those lines. He seems to do them maybe like once a month or so. I'm not exactly how frequently he does them at this point in time, but he's been doing some for StarCraft Evolution as well, which is really cool. We don't really see a ton of Best-of-9s, right? Generally, Best-of-9s are for the absolute biggest, the absolute baddest StarCraft tournaments out there in the grand finals after, like, I don't know, 3 weeks of competition. But just a casual one-off Best-of-9, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. It's good to understand, and it does change the playstyle a little bit. Even though we've been seeing a lot of late-game Terran focus, it's pretty obvious that Clem did not go into this series thinking about playing late game. That's usually what he does, by the way. I mean, he doesn't really need to, but he has that mindset of like, okay, well, if it's needed, I am totally okay. Upon seeing the gasless build, though, from Dark, Clem is saying, yo, buddy, let me go ahead and build up a third command center in the middle of nowhere, because you're not going to get Zerglings anyway. He was probably even considering building it over at the gold base. Wouldn't mind it, but that goes a little too far. Very risky here for Clem, but obviously he's got some wiggle room. And this is now a... Oh, he's going 4 CC? Dude! Clem has scouted that it's a gasless triple hatch opener from Dark. Exceptionally greedy build from the South Korean Zerg. He's countering it, okay, by playing 4 CC of his own. This is dangerous. Very risky play by Clem. Especially with the aggression Dark has been showing so far in the series. It's one of those things you're unlikely to get away with, but I don't think Dark is going to do anything about it. Dark is going double gas right now. Obviously, Clem can't really know the exact timing of the gas, but he's making the assumption, and he's done his homework. He's recognized that whenever Dark opens up with the gasless build, he doesn't generally do any aggression until lair tech. Obviously, he does a lot of aggressive builds when he goes for the quick gas, but if he delays it like he's doing right here, it pretty much always seems to be Mutas or Nidus Worms or some sort of timing attack, but it's all relatively late. We're going full Terran mech. 4 command centers, all built on location. Orbital commands across the board, because there's no way this is going to be a planetary. That's the 4th orbital. And then straight into Terran mech. Well, I hope you got yourself a drink, because this is looking like one of those games. At the very least, if it's up to Clem, where he is going to have a good time and macro up. We're going to be playing the battlemech style, though, so not like the full vanilla mech. In general, right now, Terran mech is quite unpopular. We don't see a lot of Terran mech, but it's brought out every once in a while, and I do think it's a nice thing to have at your disposal when you're trying to play StarCraft. So, broadly speaking, there's 2 flavors of mech that we see whenever we do see it, which is, again, quite uncommon. Either it's like the vanilla mech, so it's the full Hellion, Siege Tank, Thor, like super slow moving type of army composition. Generally, that's the much more passive approach. And then there's this. This definitely feels like the more appropriate style for Clem to play. So this is the battlemech is what we call it. It's called battlemech, which is a lot more aggressive and a lot more in your face. So these are kind of like the Marine Marauder type of units that come out of the factory. Obviously a lot more expensive and a lot more risky, but you can dance. So we're going to go for the Cyclone upgrade. We're going to go for the Hellion upgrade. Generally, this does transition, by the way, towards vanilla mech eventually. Double armory on the back of this, too. Dude, this is extreme greed from the Terran. I wonder if you should maybe go into Siege Tank production a bit sooner, because this is not the best style defensively. Yeah, Dark is just trying to play survival, though. I don't think Dark even knows what he's going up against. He has no clue. I mean, he has only seen a bunch of Hellions. Has he seen a Cyclone at all? No, I don't think so. He hasn't seen Cyclones. So, in Dark's mind, this could just be a triple CC Marine base build, aka the strat that Clem usually goes for. So he's prepping Banes in the main base in anticipation of a medevac drop. I mean, to be fair, in most games it is a safe assumption to make, but he'll be in for a nasty surprise when he realizes that that is not what he's playing against at all. This is apparently where Clem decides to build up a command center at the 5th base, but also reveal the surprise. This is more Hellions that you would normally see. It will be Ling Bane. Zerglings are thinking about a run-by, but there's already plenty of units here. Jimmy also has been tasked with base defense, so he should be okay. Hive coming up, a Roach Warren now building. So the Roach Warren is a response to seeing Terran mech. He didn't quite anticipate that. Usually those Zerg players like to go Swarm Host these days, but since it's already so late, I don't think that's really a great opportunity. Now maybe this Zergling run-by over here can achieve something. Keep in mind though, it's Blue Flame Hellions. They deal a stupid amount of damage. especially to Zerglings. Yeah, still a bit of damage being done, though. And it did obviously force the entirety of the Terran army now to go back home. Clem letting go of the pressure in that regard. Supply depot will start up once again. Bailing roll by, bailing roll by. Good attempt. Good reaction speed, though, by the Frenchman. Losing only 2 SCVs, and that is expensive. Keep in mind, Banelings are 50 minerals, 25 gas each. Zerglings are practically free, but Banelings certainly aren't. Adrenal glands coming up, +2. Macro hatchery. Basically, Dark is gonna go full swarm. That's the plan. He wants these fights to last... Oh! Well, I guess that was okay. He wants those fights to last about 2 seconds at most. The less time the engagements take, generally the more damage he's dealing. We have some burrowed Banelings in the mineral line. I think that's cute. Clem, though, not such a fan of it. He spots it from a mile away. Yeah, and despite all these losses, right? I don't really love this position very much for the Zerg. Terran still has a stupid amount of income. This is now a 5th orbital. So we have no planetaries. I think this should have been a planetary, if I'm being honest with you. This feels a little bit silly. But Clem is... I'm getting the vibe right now that he's styling. Look, he sees everything. He's paying attention to everything. Usually you can get away with a couple burrowed Zerglings like that, because obviously programmers can only look at one thing at a time. So it's very easy to miss a couple of those links burrowing on the ground whilst you've already switched your screen, thinking you've cleaned it up. Okay, the links are gonna try and swoop around the back. Roaches in the mix too. Is there enough firepower though for the Zerg? I think it's the best engagement he's ever going to get. Yeah. Nice engagement here for Dark. Actually making the best of this spot. There were a lot of Roaches in that run by too, and that honestly may have just saved him. Wow. Clem getting a little bit over-eager. Did not really anticipate the full step down to Roach tech. Generally, Zerg players will tech up rather than like a lateral sideways step, right? So usually we would see Hydras into Lurkers. Maybe like Quick Viper, that sort of thing. This is Dark saying, whoopsie daisies, awkward, it's mech, I'm gonna play Roaches now, after he already had all those Ling upgrades. And this is where Dark is very good, right? It's a weird decision, but he decides to make that call, and it now puts him in this spot. Now, is this a real game-winning? Maybe. Maybe it's a game-winning position, but he needs to get it done pretty soon. Because Clem is going into additional upgrades. He's got a lot of stuff in the oven right now. Roaches are nice, but they will fall off the longer that the game goes on. And obviously now, the Terran can start playing around it a lot more, using the range of those Cyclones to try and get some good lock-ons. Tunneling Claws at this point is done too. Do we have Burrow? I'm assuming we do. Yes, there is. So Dark can indeed tunnel these units on the ground. Couple Widow Mines over here. I do love those. Okay, not the greatest hits on them. In the meantime, though, a lot of Roaches are getting damage done. Zerglings also helping out with the run-bys. 47 SCVs down the drain. I think Dark has just managed to win in the most dark way possible. He found out it was Terran mech at like 8 minutes into the game, and he decides to go into a Roach all-in. All right, GG. Okay. Ultra Love is going to be the 5th game in this best-of-9. Now, yeah, that was a Dark win, but also, I think Clem was just, you know, he took the roof off of his car, he had his sunglasses on, his, you know, hair in the wind, and he was just driving down into the sunset. It was a, it was a nice game from Clem, but honestly a little too greedy. He had like, what, 6 command centers, or with orbital commands, no siege tanks to be seen anywhere, just Heli and Cyclone, not really doing a whole lot of scouting. It was a cool idea, but I think maybe Clem got a little bit over-eager. And even though that was a win for Dark, yeah, not a very decisive one. Ultimately, he got a little bit lucky, right? Because imagine if there was, like, say for example, there would also be a couple planetaries there. Couple planetaries, SCVs actually repair. The Cyclones can, well, not be caught up to very easily at all. Again, will look very different. I think the 4th and the 5th base, like the ones on the like low ground section of the map, I think both of those should have been planetaries. And that game would have looked a whole lot better for Clem, but anyway, now we find ourselves here. It's a triple CC opener for Clem, a double hatch opener though for Dark. At the very least, he's got quick Zergling speed, but he doesn't have a 3rd base. This is one of the downsides when you open up like this as Zerg. When Terran is on point, they can deny your 3rd base options, and suddenly, Zerg, generally considered to be the race that is supposed to be a base up on the opponents, suddenly Zerg is finding himself a base down. I think we'll now see Clem switch to his most comfortable playstyle. So this is a double Rex opener, exactly the style that I was trying to say earlier that isn't very popular anymore, but it's still mixed in. Double Rex opener into triple CC into what will likely just be good old Marines and Medivacs and full macro. That's where Clem is at his best. He's busy dancing right now in the middle of the map, forced out a lot of Zerglings. Trying to get at least one of the Reapers home. It'll be difficult. Yeah. Not going to happen. Not really a whole lot of counter-attack opportunity though, despite the way that the map is laid out. The add-ons here are a little bit exposed, but Clem really wants to make sure here, though, that the momentum is not going to shift further in favor of Dark, right? So the previous game, unfortunate, right? It happens. He got a little over-eager. He tried to out-Dark Dark, which, yeah, fair enough. It happens. But if you now play a standard game and you lose that one too, then suddenly the series looks very different. Then suddenly the scoreboard is not a 5-0, which it was looking at initially, but it would be like a 3-2. Not really the spot you want to be in. So, because of that, usually we see players like, well, for example, Clem, the players with the very quote-unquote conventional play styles, the very macro-oriented styles, they will usually switch to what they are best at. And that is going to be, well, normal StarCraft. So what is normal? Well, mass economy, mass bio into usually ghosts. You could, I guess, go for like a triple CC 8 Rex all-in. We see that every once in a while. Not really popular though from players like, for example, Clem, but guys like Hero Marine are fans of it, where they just do a whole lot of barracks and they push across the map. I'm assuming though we'll probably see 5 barracks into a 2nd factory, a 4th command center, and then barracks 6, 7, and 8 together with a Ghost Academy. That's what I'm thinking. Because that's what Clem does most of the time when it's an important match. So, 1-1 coming up right now for Dark. Macro hatchery in the main base. Larry is just about to finish, and we'll probably see Baneling speed started up. So this should be full Ling Bane here from the Zerg. And this may be the most conventional game we'll see in this series. Because both players here are playing as normal as possible. Maybe no surprise from Clem, but to see Dark playing normal, oh god. Well, I say that. Maybe Dark's normal is making Ultras. This is pointing, like all the signs here are pointing to Ultras. I've shared my feelings about Ultras in 2025 before. I think the unit is absolute garbage right now, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, dude. Maybe Clem will be able to prove my point as to why I think garbage Ultras are maybe in need of a little bit of love. We see Ultra attempts all the time, and it works really well against Terran players outside of like the top 10, the top 20. But when you see players, so Clem right now, the highest ranked Terran in the world, the number 2 according to the global leaderboards, just behind Serral, only with a really small margin, by the way. He's very close in that regard. Generally, against the absolute cream of the crop, Ultras just seem to be a pointless unit. Hive is coming, though. Baneling speed is about 3/4 of the way done, maybe a little less. 1-1 is finishing up soon here for Dark. I think we're going to go 2-2. We'll build up, well, Adrenal Glands in the spawning pool and then go an Ultra Cavern. I think that's the only thing that really makes sense. There's the 2nd factory at the front that I was anticipating here. We should see 2-2. Armory coming up at the appropriate time here as well for Clem. There will be an attempted, there you go. Gotta put the M in the word, Lowko, it's important. There will be a push over here With Ling Bane, quite a committed one too. Quite a few defensive Terran units have been set up, but the siege tanks are not going to siege up in that position. Command center on the low ground, maybe targeting that one down is not a bad idea. Okay. No council on the Fort CC, so that's something. Terran Bio now coming back home. Command center down the drain. At the cost of a lot of links, though. I think that was totally okay, actually, for Clem. If we would have cancelled that CC, that would have been amazing. There it is! Ultra Cavern coming up. Now, the last time I saw Ultras being effective is when opponents of Terrans made an Ultra Cavern and then never made Ultras. That seems to be when the Ultra is at its best. When it's a threat, but not an actually produced unit. So the Terrans will go into like full counter. They will go into like mass ghost and marauders and stuff, but then you actually just continue making Zergling Bane. It's one of the dumbest ways of playing Ultras. The problem is though, Clem hasn't seen it yet. So I don't think Dark is going to be able to go for that style. He's going Adrenal Glands, Ultra Cavern, 2-2. This is going to be the full sledgehammer approach from the Zerg. I think it's really quite good when you're ahead. Like, say you're ahead in a game of StarCraft, the early game for Terran went pretty terrible. You rush into Ultras, you get like 90 workers worth of eco. Then you go Ultras to like hammer the advantage home. This is one of those spots though where that really isn't the case. I think this is a small advantage for Clem. Really nothing to write home about. But a super comfortable position here for the Frenchman. He doesn't even have Barracks 6, 7, and 8 done yet. He doesn't even really have his 4th command center up and going. I guess the one saving grace is that he doesn't have a Ghost Academy. Fair enough. This hatchery is never going to happen. Matter of fact, drop in the top left. Denied. Bunch of SCVs are now dying, though, to the Lings and Banes. Clem does have a few to spare, but not a huge economy of his own either. He's smelling blood in the water. Now, Ultras are going to be good at defending this, so now the Ultra gets spotted. Sorry. Let's just look at that Ultra again. This is just before chitinous plating is done. Sorry, I just want to repeat this engagement. This is just Marines, man. It just died. It just died. Clem clicked on the unit, I'm sure. Recognized that chitinous plating, so that's the armor upgrade for Ultras, isn't done yet. And, well, at that point, you could just click it with the Marines. It's a silly unit, dude. Now, Ultra Cavern, though, is going to finish up its upgrades eventually, and that is going to make the Ultra way more tanky. Clem now recognizes that that is indeed the case. When you click on your opponent's units, by the way, you can see the armor that they have. So, you know, he's gonna need to respect it a bit more. And rather than going into ghosts, he's going into libs. Planetary Fortress at the 6 o'clock position. Zergling, okay. Getting decent hits here. The Widowmines trying their very best. Ultra has now come across. It's still mostly just Marines and a handful of Marauders. This is where Ultras are certainly at their strongest, though. It's right before Terran really gets good counters going, right? And yeah, Dark may just be able to get some real value here. It's so costly, though, and this isn't even the entirety of the Terran army yet. There's still some units on the other side of the map, too, picking off reinforcements. And with new units popping out of the barracks, I think he's okay. I think he's defended it. Yeah, and then ultimately he ends up with a 50 supply advantage. I don't know, guys. Look, remember once upon a time when they removed a bunch of upgrades in the game because they were pointless? Like, for example, the upgrade for the carrier. So once upon a time, the carrier had the interceptor upgrade, and the unit was considered pointless before that interceptor upgrade was ever done. I feel like Ultras are in a very similar boat. Ultras without their armor upgrade, absolutely pointless. You never want to have Ultras without armor upgrades. So maybe just bake that into the cost of the structure or something, or like just make it build a little bit. I don't know, just change something about it, because chitinous plating is such a critical upgrade, and the Ultra is so bad without it. It just looks so silly. Anyways, 13 SCVs go down. The main problem right now, though, is that Terran has got a massive army. And I don't believe Ultras are going to be able to clean it up. There is an Infestor. Whoa, he sniped it. Very quick clicking there by Clem. And he gets the job done. Alrighty. And that takes us to Frostline. Now, right at the very start of this game, Clem selects an SCV and sends it across. He moved his camera on over here. Okay, we're doing something fishy to try and close out this series. Match point for the young Frenchman. He's gonna try and, well, bring this series home by going for some full-on cheese. And this is not just any cheese. This is French cheese. There's a little bit of blue in there, and they tell you, oh no, it's a bit, you know, it's healthy mold. It's totally fine. You can eat it. Don't worry about it, dude. And, you know, it turns out it's delicious. But it smells funny. And it's expensive, too. So let's see what Clem can do. Is Dark really expecting this? So it's built right over at his third base. Very uncommon, by the way, to be building barracks on the other side of the map these days. There's no third barracks here. He could build it with the very first SCV. Finishing up that very first barracks, but I think this will probably just be a committed push. Technically a little bit risky. Overlord is heading on over in this direction, and I believe the Dark, that's gonna be close. Overlord is flying on over in this direction. No, he's not gonna see it. Nope. Well, that would have been really nice for Dark to see. Now, it's even a fake SCV scout. This is an SCV scout that is in line with the normal timing. The Overlord, obviously, that went across the map first, sees this SCV, and everything looks good. Instead, we're building bunkers. We're doing a bunker rush. A bunker rush here for all the marbles. Let's see. At this point, there's more bunkers, though, than there are Marines. But I feel like this is already taken care of. I mean, that natural is toast, right? I mean, Dark's now going into a second gas geyser and then a roach warren in the main base. Keep in mind, obviously, that this is the type of game that Dark loves playing. Dark is a bit of a gambler. So the goal, I guess, is to make a whole lot of Roachling and then morph them into Ravagers. He wants to intercept the Zerglings. Yep. Aw, cute little play there. By the Terran. Overlord Scout in the main base is going to reveal that everything is going to be built on the other side of the map. Other than, well, a bunch of supply depots and additional SCVs. This hatchery, though, is certainly dead. Really no way that you're going to be able to save that unless, well, you push right about right now, but really, what is there? Yeah, there's just not enough. So he's making a couple of roaches. Factory actually is being built at home. I thought we were maybe going to build that on the other side of the map, too. So how do you get rid of this now? Keep in mind that Zerg can't leave their base. Yeah, just leave a one Marine. It's Jimmy, dude. Jimmy, hold down the bunker while we go home. We're gonna have lunch. We'll save something for you, Jimmy. Don't worry about it, dude. Jimmy has been tasked with holding down the fort while everybody else is gone. Well, he drew the shortest straw. And because of that, I think he's gonna pay the ultimate price. Clemdo going into a command center now in the main base, and we are playing macro, and ultimately, oh, there's Jimmy. Jimmy's like, no, boys, you wait. No, you bastard, where did you go? This is the sickest horror movie, dude. Oh, poor Jimmy. You can write a movie about this guy. No happy ending. He ran as fast as he could, but, you know, he didn't have any stimpaks. Oh, that's the shit. You know, he didn't have that. He couldn't use the Brute War Stimpaks either. A bittersweet storyline of Jimmy. Well, Dark is gonna try and retaliate by going for an all-in of his own. So he is going Ravager Ling. Once more, we have that early Overlord to provide high ground vision. Cyclone is coming up. Dark is obviously behind, though, economically. He is rebuilding the hatchery now, and I guess he's got some creep that was there previously, and that's nice. Getting the supply depots is actually a big deal. This is not Terran being rich yet, right? Like, you can't really just build a whole lot of stuff. He did build a bunker in full anticipation of losing it. Command Center, by the way, a giant supply depot all on its own. Does finish up, so it's going to allow Terran some additional production. But, you know what? This Terran army is not looking quite big enough to deal properly with all of these Zerg units. SCVs are starting to drop. We should probably salvage the bunker if you want to get some money for it, but... Yeah. Not the end of the world so far, though. Clem is dancing like a madman. I mean, he is French. He probably gets dancing in school or something. That's what I imagine anyways. I don't know much about France or French education, but they probably get dancing in elementary school somehow. Very nice. Excellent defense there. I was thinking that that could be the end of the game. Losing 13 SCVs is expensive, but very recoverable. Second orbital command now coming up. We've pulled out of gas for the most part. He's going to bring some of them back in again now with the mule returning its cargo as well. A couple of Zerglings being hunted down by cyclones. Okay. This medevac has been worth its weight in gold. Extremely nice to have. Well, we're just going to settle in for a macro game now? Dude, I love it. I still think, though, that this is going to favor Terran despite the supply deficit. Mostly because Clem has all kinds of cool tools, right? Like, he's got this medevac and the cyclones. They can gain a lot of value. This is more of like a caveman style here from Dark. Where we're just kind of... Why are we shooting like this, dude? Okay, well, it worked out. This is full, like, caveman style here from Dark, where he doesn't really have a whole lot of subtlety in his units. I feel like Terran can get a lot of value. Stimpec is only about halfway done. He would love to have it at this point in time. Okay, Liberator is not getting balled down. Ooh, very quick reaction speeds. That Liberator is actually super nice to have, though, because it means that more biles are going to be dedicated to sniping it. 6 biles for 1 lib. I think that's a pretty good shot. SCVs once more forced to pull away from their mineral lines. What, you run out of Marines? An additional group of... Yeah, we need more. He's not going to have enough. 18 SCVs remain. 23 drones in the meantime on the other side of the map. Cyclones have come back home. This is actually better for Dark than I thought it was going to be. It's because Dark decided to be aggressive. Medevac gets balled down. It's going to be the end of the Ravagers, though. He got a little lucky there, sniping one of the Medevacs as well by accident. Okay, so... as the dust settles, where are we? Dark has a 4-worker advantage, but obviously you can mine with 2 mules at a time now. So income-wise, I mean, it's been an absolute roller coaster, but I think we should see consistent peaks right now for Terran. Third hatchery coming up. Main base is starting to run low. We're now 8 minutes in. In another 2, 3, 4 minutes or so, this base will be out. So the third hatch will be a necessity, and obviously that's one of the downsides of the mules. You do mine this expansion out pretty quick, or this main base out. Orbital command can go down to the low ground. Try and save it, and maybe get some additional resources over there. Zerglings, though, just hanging out at the front, trying their very best to... get some vision and maybe see the incoming medevac drop. Okay. I mean, he should have noticed it. Even though it was within his vision, though, it's still very dicey. And maybe he did notice it, but he just does not care. Lenny, the Zergling, sacrifices himself. Third hatchery gets spotted right before it finishes. Great timing here by the French Terran. And immediately, this is prompting a full counterattack here from Dark. More SCVs are going to get sacrificed. Siege tank goes down. So does the third hatch. Aggression in the main base, though, is going to really be difficult to hold. Oh, it's a lot of SCVs falling. So far, so good here for Clem. Using that supply depot drop. Try and get some additional, well, unit production going. An additional 22, 23, 24. Lots of SCVs going down. In the meantime, the marine drop, ooh, it's arrived in the main base, and it's found a really juicy mineral line, and immediately Dark, he cannot hold on. The attack on the other side of the map looked promising, but ultimately it's Clem who is the victor, and just across the board, the better player in this best of 9. The man looks pretty much unstoppable. GG.